Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Commissioner Stofferin.
Present.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Barnes.
Here.
We also have our mayor,
Here.
Swanson, and our town planner, city staff planner.
City planner.
City.
Present.
You're okay? I'm off to a good start. Okay, everybody turn in their claim forms. Good chance to fill yours out. When you do, just give it to Kayla. Everybody else did, okay? Now, B, election of officers. At this time, we will turn it over to Kayla.
Okay, I will now open nominations for the chair of the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion for Commissioner Mattson.
Okay, Commissioner West nominated Commissioner Mattson as chair. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing that there's no other nominations, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Barnes seconded the nomination for Commissioner Mattson as chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Commissioner Mattson, do you accept the nomination of Chair of the Planning Commission? Thank you. All right, I will now open nominations for Vice Chair of the Planning Commission.
I nominate Commissioner Barnes for vice chair.
Okay, Commissioner Stofferin nominated Commissioner Barnes as Vice Chair. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing as there's no other nominations, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Larson seconded the nomination for Commissioner Barnes as chair. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Commissioner Barnes, do you accept the nomination as vice chair?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, C, approval of the agenda. Any changes, additions, or if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve as is.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, approved as is. Before we continue here with approval of meeting minutes, Kayla did want me to mention to everybody when you speak tonight, if you can just be like within the 1 to 2 foot range of it. Don't be too far back because they did have some trouble with audio the last city council meeting. Okay, back to the agenda. D, approval of the minutes. The Planning Commission special meeting minutes for November 19th of 2025. We had a chance to look them over.
That was so long ago. I guess that's why we make minutes.
Yeah, I know, reading them over earlier, I was like, okay, I'm like, oh yeah, kind of pop back in your mind with all the holidays.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th, 2025.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, okay. Meeting minutes from our special planning commission meeting on November 19th, 2025, approved as is. Okay, on to the meat of the meeting. We have 2 things on tonight's agenda under new business. They both fall under the zoning ordinance. The 2 of them, the shipping containers and the driveway standards. This time I'd like to turn it over to planner, Mr. Lick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first issue regarding shipping containers is something that the Planning Commission asked to look at. I think it makes sense to do so because we still have a number of these out in the community that we're dealing with from a code enforcement standpoint, and even beyond those that we've received complaints upon. You know, you see them basically everywhere. They're a cheap way to get stuff out of doors compared to a regular building, so they're going to remain attractive from that standpoint. Where this comes down for the Planning Commission is deciding if and how use of these for accessory storage purposes on residential properties is appropriate. The existing language is basically what is in place from Sherburne County that says if you have 10 acres or more, you can certainly have those as structures in place of a traditionally built building. If you're 10 acres or less, it has to be for a temporary reason such as active building permit. And then it has a really short time frame for that same window, or if you're basically moving, that you've got the pod sitting on the driveway or whatever. So this is being presented again to the planning commission. They had reviewed it in November of 2024, recommended at the time making no change to the ordinance. But again, now that we've got basically everybody here except for the chair as a new member, new ideas, new perspectives. So again, it's presented for your discussion. We outlined some kind of general points to consider, and it comes down to, is this an appropriate condition to have either on any type of residential lot? Should it be confined to lots of certain areas? If you do allow it, should there be a number on the limit of those structures? Should you have standards for them? At a minimum that they be painted earth tone to cover up any logos, numbering, etc., all the way to the extreme of having them sided to look like a stick-built building. So this is discussion item for the planning commission. We did outline a potential language that could be amended to make allowance for it. Again, pretty basic, just along the idea of just allowing one on lots less than 10 acres, that they not be located in a front yard or side yard abutting a street, so that, it's at least not out in the highly noticeable area. You could also require an additional setback from side or rear lot lines, again, separating it from properties. You could go further and require screening of it with landscaping, painted earth tone color. One thing that's probably important is to somehow have it secured to the ground, so that if there's a severe weather, it doesn't go and cause damage to adjacent properties. And then maintaining the temporary use of these structures on these smaller lots, extending that to 12 months, so that, it's reasonable for a construction project to occur. So we're looking for direction on this item from the Planning Commission as to whether you want to proceed with amendment, what language should be included, and we can follow that process forward then.
So on this, excuse me, Mr. Light, on the smaller lots, are we going to allow are we going to put language in to allow for grandfathering some of these?
So, Mr. Chair, there is no allowance for them now. They're illegal. So they don't have the right to be there in the first place. So if they would be allowed on lots that are smaller than 10 acres, they would have to meet any regulations the Planning Commission adopts.
Mr. Chair? Yes. Dan, on G, where you've got the shipping, storage containers, and you slashed out, so you slashed out semi-trailers. Does that mean semi-trailers are going to be allowed?
Mr. Chair, the intent there was to take out semi-trailers as an allowed use, basically. They'd be subject to parking requirements as a vehicle, because otherwise you could basically put a van on your property that's inoperable, unlicensed, and claim it's for storage purposes, so.
Mr. Chair, follow up, but, some people may use that semi-trailer as a storage container that could be there for months or years. So I guess, would it be right to keep it in to make sure we don't have?
It's up to the planning
Right,
commission.
I guess, well, I'm a rookie here, so I'm
Yep.
asking questions.
Yep.
So I guess I would prefer to keep semi-trailers in there because I've seen semi-trailers that are used for, instead of a pod, somebody's gonna get a semi-trailer from somebody, and all of a sudden it turns into permanent storage. And so, that's just my opinion, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
How does everybody feel about them in general? Because myself, like the 10 acres or more, it's like, well, if you have 10 acres, it's not that big of a deal. You're talking about platted lots, you're talking about 2.5 acres. Putting one on there, I'm not as comfortable about it, even if they are painted in earth if they meet all the other requirements. I'm just not. Like, I think 5 acres minimum, but I like the 10, and, I mean, people are doing it now illegally are doing it illegally, so they're not supposed to be on there, period. Question was, yeah, I'm glad you.
Because
brought
I
that up.
couldn't read it, I couldn't find it in there, and I read it twice.
Yeah, so it's nice to know that they are not allowed. So, I just don't feel like, and I kind of also feel like if we're kind of feeling this out as a city, if we go with the 10 acre and we find out there's a lot of demand for people who want them, it's like, why 10 acres? Why didn't you go with 5? We can always address it later and go smaller. It's easier to go smaller than if we go 5 or 2.5 and we have complaints and then like, okay, we got to address this quick. Well, now the people that already met it said, well, now you're changing it, but I met it when it was. Well, then we're opening ourselves up for a lot of stuff. So, just a point when, as a new city, safe to go with 10 and adjust and come down versus going too low.
Commissioner Mattson, as a new resident, we built a garage because of needs. And because we back up to part, I don't know, I've been told it's part of the Sherburne Refuge, and I've been told it's not what I back up to, but I back up to some kind of a water. And because of setbacks from that, we had rules with our garage, which is fine. But I have a couple of, I don't know what you call them, they're not pods, but they're red and they're tall that, and I have 5.5 acres, but I wouldn't dream of putting a semi on that 5 acre, somewhere on that acres. And I think most of us that live in the platted subdivisions kind of feel that way too, at least people I've talked to.
Offering Commissioner Barnes?
Mr. Chair, I don't agree with semi-trailers. I think those are too, like having a parking lot. But to address your question of 10 acres versus 2.5, I could see down to 2.5, but nothing less. As long as they're, they're not red blocks with China written on the side. I wouldn't want one of those next to my house. But if someone had one and they either sided it with tin or painted it to reduce the impact of it, I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with it. Because like say right now we have enough people that are breaking the rules. And it goes back to, hey, this is my acres. I moved out here so that I could, have the space, and I want to do this in my space. I should be able to, versus the flip side of what effect does that have on the neighbors? But as long as it's controlled and we make we control it so it's compromised. As long as we create the compromise, I think it's acceptable down to a certain size. As long as they're not. They meet the building codes, that they're not, too close to the buildings, to a house as far as fire protection. That they're not in front of someone's house or on the side. If they're behind in that property behind a house, I'm amenable to that.
2.5 acres, that is every single lot.
Yep.
So we're basically opening up to everybody.
Well, not everybody. I think we have 4, I was reading through this today. So I was looking through Zillow and I saw that there were some 0.71 acre lots for sale. So we have some housing groups. I wouldn't want to see something put on one of those. And everything going forward is going to be 2.5. Everything that's, smaller than that right now is stuck. But, I would agree that it would be available to each person as an option.
My current feelings are a couple of different thoughts. I agree with Commissioner Stoffern. I am not a fan of the semi-trailers. Again, it comes down to a look, it comes down to maneuverability, it comes down to it is different from the storage trailer, which can be secured in case of weather, things along those lines, where semi-trailers are not. And it is just a different look and harder to screen or mask or things along those lines. At this point, I agree with Commissioner Mattson on starting with the 10 acres. My justification for that is while 2.5 acres seems like a large parcel, you can have odd-shaped parcels where it makes it very difficult and the screening or the pod or the storage container would be very visible to your neighbors. And again, it comes down to part of also what I'm looking at or considering, and I'm not sure how we want to, as a planning commission, consider this, so I'll kind of look back at Commissioner Mattson to answer some of this. Some of us have mentioned that there are already lots that have these that would be considered non-conforming if we do the 10 acres and up. That being said, we don't have an enforcement officer. Our enforcement would be complaint-based. So therefore, if somebody has a 5-acre lot that has this container there, and nobody's complaining about it, we're not gonna go out and make them move it. But if we stay with the 10 acres and we do get the complaints, we have the wherewithal that we could do what we need to do. It gives us some of that. That's just my current thought, but I'm open to suggestions. I'm not, 5 acres is a little harder to get odd shapes. You get a little more setback, you get a little, but even on a 5-acre lot, sometimes you've got a 1/4 acre that's all buildable and everything else is wetland or something like that, and then you're right on top of each other. So sometimes acreage can be a misnomer. I'm trying to think of the right word. You know, just because you have 10 acres doesn't mean you can use all of it. And so I'm not sure how to address something like that in here other than maybe trying to give ourselves some flexibility. And how to word that, I'm not sure.
So, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, currently the ordinance allows them on 10-acre lots.
Correct, 10 acres and up. Mhm.
We wouldn't have to change anything in the ordinance as it is today.
Okay.
The question is to allow it on something less than 10 acres, which you look at this map that we had from corporation process. If I can get it. Everything in yellow is 10 acres or less. So most of Baldwin is under that 10-acre threshold, not eligible to have shipping containers. So I would say the majority of them that you see out there are probably non-compliant with the ordinance.
Mr. Chair, just to make sure that I'm on the right track here, if I remember the discussion earlier, Sherburne County, it's 10 acres or above?
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
So I like that consistency, you know, that we stay the same, that what Sherburne County has, you know, we have with the 10 acres and above would allow it, 10 acres and below would not allow it. So that'd be my thought.
I do have one other option to just, it's an outlier oddity that would, how would this wording affect, I mean, you see all those TikTok videos and or whatever where somebody comes in and they use 2 or 3 containers aligned in certain ways and they actually build them together and make a livable home out of them. That would be under the building code and not under this, correct? So it would be something different. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, at that point, they're making improvements to qualify it for residential occupancy, which triggers building code.
Okay,
You're gonna have electrical and plumbing that goes along with
just wanted to check.
On the previous page, page 2, when you talked about that, the planning commission has decided to reconsider the matter, it must consider the following. The second one down, should there be a limit on the number of shipping containers allowed to be used? And then also the next one down, which I had highlighted, was the maximum size. That, I don't think that should change, because whether you have 50 acres, I don't think that could stay. As far as the number of shipping containers, stick with 10, do we say 1 per 10? How do we want to do that? If you have 10 acres, can you put They could technically put, if there's nothing in here for verbiage, if you have 10 acres or more, you
Then it'd be essentially governed by the percentage of lot area, 4%, right? So you could have quite a few of
quite a
them.
few, yeah. I said, I mean, and obviously.
I guess my thought would be is if the planning commission doesn't want to change the acreage and lower it, then we wouldn't make any changes to that section at this point.
Okay. I agree with that for now. Keep it at 10 acres. Changes. So semis will not be allowed.
No, they are currently allowed. You can use semis.
Under
So then we would be looking
yes.
at making a change.
Yep.
Change would be to add semis back in there that they're now.
So the language on the screen is the current provision.
So you would say shipping storage containers, and we removed. I'll just be addressing that, and then we have to put a separate line that would say semi-trailers are not allowed. Plain and simple.
Mr. Chair, if you take it out, then it's regulated as a vehicle under parking section, so
Okay,
it doesn't need this. This is making an allowance for it
Okay.
to be used for storage.
okay, so do we take that over for semi-trailers and then spots where it's noted? Or 3 spots, I guess. Back to.
Then if you wanted to make that change, we could change number 2 to allow a longer period when there's an active building permit. Right
That
now,
would be
it's
nice,
only,
'cause 3 months with. the
three-
rebuild,
3 months
that's-
is short.
That's rushing it if there's delays, problems.
I agree with that.
Give them 6 months.
That was the thought that came to my head, but
I don't know who to address with this question, maybe Mr. Light. What is, if Sherburne County has a policy, what is their policy regarding those?
so, Mr. Chair, again, this is their policy, this is their ordinance, their policy that Baldwin Township adopted. One of the advantages of incorporation is that Baldwin can do whatever it wants irrespective of what Sherburne County has in place, which is why the accessory building area limits were changed to be much more generous than under Sherburne County. So this is about Baldwin defining what's right for Baldwin, not necessarily what may apply in other communities.
Chair, in reference to number 2, Dan, couldn't you just reword it just to put in there about as the active permit? Because they could start in October, and then we have one heck of a bad fall and winter, and that thing could be there for 6 months or 7 months. So rather than put in 6 months, could you say as long as the permit's active or whatever?
We would probably we like to have a time limit, but then say it can be extended by the zoning administrator if there's, justification for it.
Got it. So then you put something in it. I see what you're saying. So you want to put in not to exceed 6 months or 7 months? or
Yeah, building permit's typically good for a year
Right,
if you're not working on it. If you pound a nail, it extends that, but, so we'd want to use that same time frame and then give the ability for staff to extend it if there's reasonable circumstances.
So if we put 6 months, should we put 6 months or active construction permit, whichever is longer?
That would be fine.
So that way,
If you want to change the language, so remove the semi-trailers, we can come up with a revised text and I'll coordinate with the building official to come up with the preferred wording for number 2.
so I do have a question on, since we are changing the text, because I like the idea of removing semi-trailers. I don't know, I know you had liked trailers, but I don't know.
no, I do not want.
I don't
trailers.
know.
You don't want trailers. Okay, so I think we're all in that
Against-
agreement.
I do not want semi-trailers.
Awesome. Sweet. Sorry about that. And we're working on wording. Can I ask, how easy or difficult would it be? You had the map that showed the yellow were 10 acres and less. Do we know what percentage of Baldwin is 5 acres
That,
or more?
yeah, we probably actually made that map too. As part of the incorporation, we kept playing with which showed the city as being mostly undevelopable.
So I'm reopening the discussion real quick. If we're looking at changing the wording, do we want to consider changing it from 10 acres to 5? Because maybe that does allow some of them that are out there to be compliant and not all of them to be non-compliant and complaint-based then, I mean, because 5 acres, you do have a little more opportunity that it can be in a rear yard, it can be hidden, you're not necessarily directly on top of your neighbors. Something smaller, you can have odd, long lines, or, I mean, I guess I'd like to investigate it before deciding on the 5 or 10.
My question for you is, if we leave it as is at 10, we review this next month, correct? So if you bring a map at that time, it's still not set.
Right,
So
you
the
can
next
change it
month
at
we
that
can
point.
look at it.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, is
Yeah.
can we investigate what that 5 acres
Yeah.
number looks like and consider it? I'm not saying to change it
Right,
yet, but I'd
yeah.
like to look
Yeah.
at
If the
what that
consensus
looks like.
Agreed on 10, we'll review it next month at 5 and say, well, you know what, it doesn't change that much. We could go down to 5 if it changes drastically. Yeah,
We could stay at 10. Oh, yeah, I would just like to consider it and see what it looks like, just for informational purposes, if that's not too difficult to request.
Easy.
Okay.
As far as number 2.
Yep, we'll fix number 2.
Would that map show both under 5 acres and then above 5 acre plots?
Yeah, we
Two
could,
different colors, so we could see the impact?
yeah, I mean,
Because you had said that map there was,
so everything in white is
That 10
larger than 10 acres.
okay.
The blue is public waters, yellow
So
is.
there's some on there, yellows that are 10 acres that could have it,
Right,
is where I'm going, kind of.
so what we could do is, as long as we're doing the 5 acre map, what we would do is under 5 acres and under 10 acres.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to say we looked at it. I'm not, I'm not sure which way I want to go with it now, but it just, we can say we looked at it.
Yeah.
Since it's not too hard to generate.
I mean, and that might be that compromise of my, Chair, Mr. Chair, we know that we are a complaint-driven enforcement. But what are the steps if we receive a complaint? I mean, how does that affect? So let's say I have a container, I'm under 10, and I receive a complaint. What is the process of?
So the first step is, we go out and inspect it, see that, yep, there's a container there, it's not in compliance with the ordinance. Send a letter saying, we've seen your property from the street, we see the container, this is a violation, we'd like to work with you to resolve this. If we don't get a response within 15 days, or they call back and said, I'm not moving it, then we send a more formal notice saying you are violating the ordinance, this must be removed. If you don't remove it, we'll issue a citation or take other enforcement action. 15 days again, if it's not removed, then the city can issue a citation that imposes $50 fine. They can issue as many $50 fines they want, because each day the violation exists, it's another offense. But typically, we will go through that process a couple of times to see if we can't work with the property owner. Ultimately, the final step would be directing the city attorney to contact them and say, if you don't remove this within so many days, we're gonna go get a court order to force you to remove it.
All right, thank you.
And the one thing with code enforcement is there's no revenue coming back to the city. It's an expense out, basically, so.
If we find that middle ground, maybe it's a balance between if it's on something too small where people are gonna see it, and if they don't paint it and they don't.
That's
So
other thing
that's-
too is,
Yeah, that's kind of the trick here is, so, there are obviously people out there doing this. And so, okay, if people obviously want to do this, is there a way to make it reasonable?
Exactly. Maybe that's that
Compromise.
compromise between size of lots, orientation of lots,
Which is hard
Yeah.
with all that.
painting, yet all those,
That's the third part of this, is should there be, whether it's 5 lots, 10 lots, or whatever. But, I mean, shipping container says right now, should there be standards required such as the shipping, this is page 2 I'm sorry. The shipping container must be painted in an earth tone or color matching the principal building, or the shipping container must be sided with an exterior finish of consistent with that used in the principal. Having that in there will, will protect it, whether it's 5 acres, 10 acres. Then a person can't move a.
I think painting is sufficient. It's not an astronomical cost to paint them, but it would be that compromise that if somebody, I agree, I wouldn't want to look out and see the green one out there, or, you know, the bright green with a logo on it, I guess. Green might not be quite so offensive, but if there's logos and.
Hyundai,
Yeah,
Maersk.
China, right?
I don't want to look out the door and see
Mercy.
China.
Or graffiti.
Yeah, you know,
It'd be good graffiti though.
I think siding with roofing on it might be a little costly.
Yeah, it's or, so can we leave them both in there?
You can talk about it, once you decide where you want to allow them, you can still talk about it further as to, I think Commissioner Barnes makes a good point. You don't want to make it so difficult that no one complies with it.
Right.
Oh, correct, yeah. I'm just thinking if you say that they can use, making sure that they do something with it. So if it says
Yeah,
painted,
we
it
would-
can be painted, it can be pitched roof, it can just have standards, so that if they decide they want to side it, they don't just go, look, it's sided, and it's like, there's nothing in there that says about it.
Yeah, the city would set a minimum.
Right.
So you, for example, would say it has to be painted earth tone, can't have any logos or signage on it. And then if someone decides that they want to turn it into what looks like a stick-built structure, that's more power to them. I mean, having it painted, I guess, isn't that much different than going to Menards and buying a tough shed that just rolls off a truck. Some of them are, plain looking.
Right.
You're looking at them from a distance, does it really matter beyond the color of it? So,
Mr. Chair, couple thoughts. I'll think about down to a 5 acre, parcel. I mean, something to think about, for the planning commission. I think it might be a little easier to hide it in a 10 acre area than it is a 5 acre area. And, and then the other was, if you do go down to a certain, whatever the acres are, and you adopt the aesthetic standards, is there a time limit? Would we want to put a time limit in for them to paint it, put the roof on, if we say that too? Because otherwise, someone will say, yeah, I was gonna get around to it. Then you come back a year later, yeah, I just haven't got around to it, or whatever. So is that common to put a time limit into it?
yeah, that's a good point. And what we'd probably do is basically allow these by an administrative permit, so that, if you go get a tough shed, you can just drop that on your property. It doesn't need building permit. If we put that you need an administrative permit, give staff the ability to ensure that it complies, then we can require that it have be painted or whatever aesthetic improvements and be secured to the ground. So that's a requirement.
Okay. Is this good enough discussion for next? We have a lot to cover. Not trying to rush the point. We're coming back to it next week. This gives us a lot to think about, where we feel, whether we're strong you're strong at one and I'm strong at the other, and where you will all fall will determine it.
I think we're pretty close to the same page.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Okay. What would you like us to go over next on this?
Mr. Chair, the next item under the zoning ordinance is driveway surfacing. So this was adopted in April of 2023. town always had as part of the right-of-way ordinance that the section between the street and your property line, basically the ditch, over the culvert had to be paved. And that's basically to protect the edge of the roadway so that it's not breaking off from vehicles entering and exiting, and then over the culvert. The Planning Commission had discussed as part of developments where you have subdivisions with residential neighborhoods, there needed to probably be a more stringent requirement going into the lot rather than just having gravel driveways, but to require pavement. There's a functional element to that, if you have gravel driveway that comes to the property line, you're still dragging that gravel out into that apron. It can get into the ditch, affect stormwater. Once you get into the property, then it's dust and everything else. So what the Planning Commission came up with was that you had to pave the driveway from the property line to the front setback line. So that in a smaller neighborhood on a 2.5 acre lot, most homes are gonna be built right at that 50-foot line off the town road or city street now. So that basically the full driveway is paved. If you have a platted lot that's much larger and you choose to build your house way in the back, the Planning Commission didn't feel it was necessary to extend pavement all the way back there, but at least have that front section done so that as you're driving up to the street, you're not dragging the gravel, you're not bringing the dust. So they set that at that front yard setback. So the first question for tonight is, does the Planning Commission currently constituted agree with that standard, or do we need to revisit?
My opinion is I would agree with it. It matches, like you're saying, what we would constitute a construction driveway off of construction sites, having a hard surface constitutes that and allows the mud and the debris to remain where it needs to be versus out on the public roadways.
And then the opposite, there was if someone should just back on a lot, 3-acre lot, and Charles way back there, you're not saying, well, it has to be paved to the garage, because all of a sudden you're like, wow, I was gonna do this. We just wanted to make sure it's paved back enough, so none of that happens. But we haven't had any issues, since we did that. It seems like, we discussed it, we had a real good discussion, that just seemed to be something fair.
Agreed.
Mr. Chair, the distances for the front yard setback, is that the 50 or 67?
Yeah, so it's based on what type of road your lot accesses to. City streets, the setback is 50 feet. County roads or county state aid highways is 67, and then Highway 169 is 100 or 120 feet back. So it's just that, whatever that required front yard setback is.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Light, my question is, what about the residences currently that don't do that, haven't done that?
So this applies only after the date the ordinance was adopted.
Oh, okay.
So everyone else's driveway is fine the way it is. April of 2023. And it was for preliminary platted lots, so the only preliminary plat we've approved, the city has approved since then was Meadows of Baldwin and Northland Ponds. So it's only those 2 subdivisions that have that requirement currently. So then, related to the driveway issue is we want to have compliance with that requirement. The city's experienced a number of issues in some of these subdivisions where not even the section required within the right-of-way is being completed in a timely manner. You always run into the issue where the developer will complete the house, asphalt plants are closed, they want to sell the house to the buyer wants to move in. Yep.
Sorry, I hear this one all the time.
Yeah.
How did you know?
We run into an issue where, they want the building certificate of occupancy, but it doesn't comply with the zoning ordinance because they don't have the access completed. So what the city council directed was to put in place an escrow agreement that would be executed at the time the building permit's issued, so that there's the ability to require completion of that after the certificate of occupancy has been issued. We came up with, or the city engineer came up with initial estimates for the improvements. Basically, for those lots pre-2023, it's about $10,700 to grade the access, put the culvert in, and pave just the portion within the right-of-way. It's about another $5,000 to go the 50 feet into the property. So what the council discussed at their meeting last week was breaking that down further into not only the security for the driveway, but then also the requirements. Those same lots were required to plant 2 trees per acre. Security for that, and then security to seed the entire lot for erosion control purposes. So rather than charge at the upfront cost for pre-2023 lot $10,700, they get to the CO. If the culvert's in, the grading's done, the seeding's done, they just haven't paved it, then we could reduce that down to a lesser amount, so that the builder at least gets some of their upfront money back. And then we're also not impeding the process for sale. So the council just asked that we review this with the planning commission, have your endorsement of that process going forward.
I endorse it. For reference, I will tell you, City of Blaine has a grand total of $5,000 on their escrow, and it's not enough. We have people walk away from it, and it still makes code enforcement a virtual nightmare, because they go, well, that's all, when you're building an $800,000 house, $5,000 is a penny. And they want to do what they want to do, and so they just leave it and walk away from it. And so I've got non-compliant buildings all over. I've got a whole list of ones I got to go back through because they just never did. They didn't care. It wasn't enough. So these numbers make me more comfortable. I like the idea of splitting it out. It gives us the options and the flexibility that we would need. I agree with this.
Did come up, the reason we're splitting this out is basically, if you get to the point where the CO is ready to be issued, obviously the people have a driveway they can enter and exit the property from. It's just the pavement hasn't been completed.
Right.
The other issue that the city has had with this being incomplete is then it causes the need for the city engineer to go out multiple times to re-inspect things that either aren't completed, and so then you're running costs up that way too. So we wanted to be sure that was covered, and Commissioner Barnes is correct. The escrow has to cover the cost, or at least hurt enough to avoid people walking away from it.
Can we take the costs of multiple inspections out of the escrow before it's returned? Yes. So that's what, we do that on commercial permits. I don't know how much they do it on residential ones in Blaine. But
Yeah, the agreement.
I like that idea.
does have that any costs incurred by the city administering the agreement can be deducted.
Sweet. I'm in agreement.
Mr. Chair, I was at last Wednesday's council meeting. Dan, you were there. And there was a gentleman there, developer contractor, that believes this is too much. So I just bring it, this amount is too much money. And so maybe you want to frame
Yeah, and
that.
I think that's where, it's the amount that you're collecting when. So if we're collecting it when they're getting the permit, then that number's right, because they haven't done any of the improvements. If you're at the point where you have the CO and they've done everything but the pavement, then that number's too much. And I, as we said at the meeting, I think there's a way to adjust this. The situation he was dealing with was one of these time crunch ones where they were in a hurry to get some resolution, and we were doing the best we could to accommodate them, but lack of information, lack of time to fully vet the issue, so.
Follow-up, it's nice to hear what you said, is happening in Blaine. Where if it's only 5 or a smaller number, they're just gonna walk away. I don't want that to happen, so I don't want it to be excessive, but I don't want it to, so is there you gotta juggle the balls to find out where that magic number is.
Find that sweet spot.
Yep, find the sweet spot.
And I think if we're willing to reduce the number upon completion of these as they're ticked off, then I think that's the balance that you're looking for between the developer or builder not wanting to have cash laying out there in excess of what's required.
Agreed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, to weigh in just a little bit here too, that this also helps protect the buyers of the homes.
Yes.
Because ultimately now, if we're looking at $10,000 worth of stuff that's not done and the developer walks away, now this homeowner, not that it's our place to get in between the homeowner and the builder, but the homeowner has no recourse.
Right.
And we really, want to save our road. So if we have this money in escrow, we can get it fixed and the builder's out. Well, anyway, whatever. It gets done and handled without the new owner getting double dipped on. Because chances are by this time, they've already paid all of these costs anyway, because the developers rolled it into the.
That's, unfortunately, that happens. They roll these
Yeah.
permit costs, all that is part of the purchase price of the house. Buyers don't really see it because they see that great big number at the end. They don't see these little broken out ones, so.
So is everybody comfortable with that then? As far as this step, okay. Good. Anything else on driveways?
Nope.
That would take care of that. Okay. We talked about shipping containers, we talked about driveway standards. That brings us to F, old business. What we are talking about with that is basically, if you look at your November calendar that they gave us, that Kayla gave us, right now, the original date that we had talked about was the 18th, but that was before the city council moved theirs to Wednesdays. So we cannot move it up to the 11th because it's Veterans Day, the previous Wednesday. The Wednesday that is now scheduled for, you can see, is the 25th. That is the day before Thanksgiving. Whether we want to do it now or we want to address it later, if we come to a date now, if we wanted to move it to the 24th, just so it's not the night before Thanksgiving, we can certainly discuss it now, move it now. Want to wait, we can. The only thing is we don't want to wait too long because we got to get things on the calendar, so we have. I know previous members were all very, very in favor of that because to them, Thanksgiving, most of them hosted it, so they liked having the night before off. So it's very understandable to move it up. If someone wants to make a suggestion to do that, or if anyone is opposed to the 24th, we can certainly look at a different date. But I myself would like to change it just because Thanksgiving Day, we have hosted them and out for 3 hours the night before.
Mr. Chair, you want a motion on that? To move it? I'll make a motion to move it to November 24th.
Second. More discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, approved. Kayla, you'll make that change then? Thank you very much. Okay, and then our 57-page packet. G, our comprehensive plan update. 1, review the community profile, issues summary, and policy plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the long-anticipated discussion about the comprehensive plan that has been somewhat delayed with all the new members coming on board. I would also say that the previous planning commission was chomping at the bit to undertake this effort with the last plan having been done in 2012. They were told that they had to wait patiently to complete the incorporation process because the city didn't necessarily want to tip its hand as to what its strategy was for moving forward with that effort and also not to provide any potential ammunition that the city of Princeton could have used to oppose the incorporation. So once that incorporation was done, the city council seated. The intent was to move this forward, and then, of course, we kind of got sidetracked with resignations and reappointments, et cetera. So this is really meant to be an update of that 2012 plan, looking at Baldwin as it is today, moving forward into the future. As I detailed in the description, the entire incorporation was based on keeping Baldwin as Baldwin. The mayor's infamous or famous quote, depending on your perspective, is that this is the city of Baldwin Township. So, the intent was not to see significant change in direction.
Right on the stand for saying that.
So that's kind of the perspective that the planning commission had started from. Now, gave you 57 pages. That's about a third of a typical comprehensive plan. I do try and cut them down as much as possible to 120 or less. Even 100 would be ideal. So as we kind of go through, some of this might get a little reorganized. But if you had read the incorporation documents that were prepared, you'll recognize the community profile. What the planning commission had initially done was looked at this and said, well, this kind of summarizes everything that's here today. And so to, save time and effort, let's just kind of repackage that as, a summary of what's here. So I don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time going over that unless you guys wanted to. Really, the purpose tonight, I think, would be to cover kind of what the prior planning commission had identified as the issues that needed to be covered in the comprehensive plan, and then get your new perspectives on that, and if any adjustments or changes have happened with the transition in members here. And then we can go through the policy documents that were written and make adjustments as we go. This is obviously the other thing that we had to have a lot of patience with the prior planning commission with is they wanted to color maps. This is where our commercial is going to be, this is where everything's going to be. But it's really these policy statements that define what the comprehensive plan is going to be. The maps are, put in place, they change over time, you adjust them over time, but these policy statements really kind of give direction as to what the map is supposed to look like. So this is really the core of the plan itself, so it's important to spend time going through that. So my expectation would be is that we have this meeting to look at this section of the document. The next meeting, we don't have any public hearings or planning items, so we can continue that discussion. The first meeting in February, we'd look at the development framework section, which is kind of grayed out there. Those are the actual plans then that the prior commission had put together, and the text then that supports that and some of those concepts. Once we get to that, I think we have a discussion as to how the planning commission wants to present the information to the public, whether it's an open meeting type scenario, kind of a more informal public hearing, as it were, to invite questions and comments and not only publish it, the formal methods, but also try and do a little broader outreach, the text.government, send it to some of the active developers, let them respond to some of the information in there. We're hearing that Sherburne County, for example, is changing their comprehensive plan to allow 1 acre lots. You'll notice in the kind of the discussion here is the planning commission here was going the other way, that the city allows 2.5 acre lots currently, but is that too dense? Do we really want to see 2.5 acre lot subdivisions where it's just 2.5 acre, 2.5 acre, 2.5 acre? Or should there be a way to cause that to be, well, yeah, you can have a 2.5 acre lot if it's basically a flat cornfield and there's nothing significant about it. But what if we took a parcel that had wetlands or a lake in it, and you can't count the wetland towards that 2.5 acres? So you're in effect causing the lots to become bigger than they are on a gross basis. So that exists to some extent in the ordinance because it says, well, the minimum lot area is 2.5, but you gotta have 40,000 square feet of buildable area. So you'd be changing that to say, well, you have to have more buildable area than just 40,000 square feet. And whether that's 80,000 square feet or if it's the full 2.5 acres needs to be buildable, that's kind of a discussion down the road a little bit. But that was the direction the planning commission was going here. So how the planning commission kind of got down the road to where we are today was they did what's called a SWOT analysis. So it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Basically, the question is presented as, what are the strengths of Baldwin in terms of future growth and development? What makes this a good place that people want to be, either for their homes or for their businesses? What are the weaknesses of the community as it exists today? Levels of service, roadway conditions, land availability, we can go through some of their responses. Opportunities for future growth. What is going to help drive growth? What could Baldwin kind of latch onto to encourage the development that it wants to see happen? And then at the same time, what's the threat to that future growth that's kind of beyond the city's control? What outside factors influence that? So the last 4 pages of the 57 that you got were the summary of what the planning commission had come up with as part of each of these exercises. That's just the summary part of it. Hang on a second. So each of the points was a comment made by, I should also say, the way we did this was broke the members that were at each meeting. I can't recall how many meetings we did this. It was several months of meetings.
4 or 5.
Yeah, broke the planning commission into smaller groups of individual members to come up with these points on their own. It was a significant concern for the planning commission that they be the ones to come up with this. You just don't send the planner off on his own to make it all up for the planning commission. They wanted to really drive the process, which is entirely appropriate because this is your plan. It's the Baldwin community. It needs to reflect that. So these are the points that each group made. The number in parentheses was after each exercise. Basically, people were asked to identify which statements they felt most strongly about. So then we listed them. Obviously, those at the top, there's general consensus about as strengths, and then kind of filters down. So can obviously, the chair and the mayor can chime in on helping to describe each of these because they participated in that exercise. But for the most part, they're pretty obvious as to what the planning commission was getting at with each of these. Again, strengths, the lot sizes and rural feel is a repeated statement throughout all of this process. Low property taxes and that the township was financially stable. Small government with low overhead, obviously related to that. The existing transportation system providing access across the entire state. Emergency services, this is something, it's not in Baldwin, but it's adjacent to Baldwin, so it provides a strength to the community, having the hospital in Princeton, and also access by air ambulance. Diversified land use in terms of what is here today. Natural resources in the environment being highlighted, all the lakes, wetlands, existing parks, the refuge, and the wildlife that kind of goes throughout. There was the public hearing for Northland Ponds where the people opposed to the development were concerned that the new neighborhood of 3-acre lots was going to cut off wildlife corridors, so which was what had attracted them to the area. So that the city allows for home-based businesses. There's good access to all the roads within community, the frontage road businesses that are in place. People thought it was good community for everybody in terms of their age. Population was highlighted. Obviously, when you're looking at the size of Baldwin Township, having been the 3rd largest township in the state, obviously that suggests there's population here and a strong community. Good community facilities, specifically I think the fire department was highlighted, as well as schools and churches within the community. The natural environment and the size of the lots provides privacy so that you're not on top of your neighbor. You're not looking at their storage container on their lot. And for the most part, people mind their own business, which is why we don't get a lot of complaints about those storage containers. Obviously, you're close to the Twin Cities if you need to get there. The town board was highlighted for their leadership. The zoning, now again as a city, but the town at the time had taken over responsibility for this so that it was more accountable to people. One of the reasons the town took this over was in order to address situations along shorelines where there are non-conforming lots and non-conforming houses, and the county was inflexible about allowing improvements to those, whereas the situation warranted. It's what the property was, so you need to work with what you've got. The opportunity for public involvement through the local government, and again, having more control over that. Community that consists of a large number of volunteers, the people that serve on these committees and other committees that the city council has. Obviously, the clean environment, again, no pollution and good water quality, and access to park and trails. It was further up to the opportunity to add parks to the community as well as a strength, given that it's It's not fully built out or developed and subdivided yet, so.
And
I don't know what that was from.
Somebody forgot to
So unless, you know, the mayor or chair want to add anything, I guess we'd look at the four of you and say, you know, is there anything to this list that you would add?
It was, just real quick, what was nice about it, both Mr. Lick and Mayor Swanson said, it was several meetings. Broke down individually, broke down in groups, we talked about it, went back and we looked at it again, we tried to come up with everything. So you'll see on all three of them, or the next three, that there are things on there that some was like boom, and some kind of got 1 vote, 2 vote, kind of fell, but it was something we're talking, so we discussed them all. Every single point we went over. Everybody had input on what they thought was the category we talked about, and we discussed every single point. So a lot of thought went into this, so if you see anything you like, you'd like to add, you don't notice, how about this? Certainly bring it up, because that's very true what he said. This is planning and zoning, this is what we're responsible for. A lot of time, and I think it was 5 meetings. Sure 4, but I think it was 5, so it was actually really fun. They all got colored markers and everything. Got to be kids again. So, but yeah, this, and it was really fun, but it was very, very important, so. Like that, sir.
Certainly, an extremely in-depth look at everything from the people that were here. You know, all of these lists incorporate a lot of those things. And a lot of this stuff was also driven by our incorporation and the things we wanted to do. No smaller than 2.5 acres, right? We want to keep the hobby farms, we want to keep the taxes low, we want to do, you know, these types of things. And some of these things, as you look at them, financially stable, low property taxes is the second one on the first list of strengths here. That is a wonderful strength, but bedroom communities are expensive. You know what I mean? So we do have some business, and as we get some of the opportunities that we have, is where do the businesses go to help bolster what we have here to keep the financial stability that's listed in what is already our strengths. And as we go through some of these, you'll see where there are pieces of them are on different lists for that fact. You know what I mean? And for those situations. So I think it was a wonderful exercise in where do we want to go.
Yeah. Again, open the floor to the new members.
I'm sitting, to the group, I'm sitting here looking at the strengths as a newbie to town, and there isn't anything that I can identify that would be added to that. All the reasons are why we moved here. And I've been around county governments my entire working life. I've never seen one as financially stable as we are, for the size we are.
We are, Mr. Chair, we are larger than 721 of the 855 cities in the state. 856 because we became one. And now Northern Township's going to become one, so it'll be 857. We got robbed out of our first place.
Which township is?
Northern Township by Bemidji.
Oh,
Decision is due in February, I guess.
okay.
Here, that's very nice to hear.
And you know who also echoes it was our realtor.
So how big is that Northern Township?
How many people are there?
Just under 5,000.
So they would be the 721. We would
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah.
We would be-
We're
Rutland
holding
is
our
still
own
bigger.
there.
We'd still be up the list more than they are, although we don't get the, newest city anymore. Okay. Sorry, size is a thing.
Dern, Curry, and Rupee, anyway.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
You don't have anything, or we can go on to weaknesses? We can come back to it as well.
I have one question, because it also goes back to the storage containers. We allow a home-based business. Some of those home-based businesses, and I'm thinking of my neighbor, has a small, bright red, like storage shed. It's a home-based business.
One of the ones in the code enforcement list is it's a home business They have two containers next to each other with a tarp over the top of them so that they can park the heavy trucks under that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Anyone?
Okay, on to weaknesses.
All right.
I'm not trying to rush this, I'm just keeping it moving, so whenever feel like you don't have a voice, so.
Ramrod you.
So weaknesses, the first one obviously kind of reflects the character of development in Baldwin. It's rural township previous to November of last year, and there isn't really a true downtown Baldwin. Most people would probably mistake the commercial area on the north end of 169 as being all part of Princeton. It isn't necessarily identifiable, so. That there aren't any schools within the town. Communication with residents, and that was directed, I believe, more at the idea that it's difficult to communicate with residents as a government unit. The businesses that are here are only industrial, limited retail, which limits opportunities for temporary or hourly jobs. There's a divide in terms of technology across generations. Again, that ties back to communication. If you're going to drive through 169, you're going right through Baldwin without really realizing it or having reason to stop. There's currently the only two developed parks, limited access to internet services and having consistent service and access, lack of social services available, website challenges, lack of community room space and a government center reflecting the space needs of this facility. Weakness of, the need to add staff as the community grows to provide necessary levels of service. Without sewer and water services, would the city be able to support a large manufacturing development? Poor cell phone service, lack of access to regional trails. Pollution concerns from fertilizers across yards as well as farms. Future needs for school system, extra business expenses in terms of putting in private wells and septic, terrible soil quality, and lack of a health fitness center.
Yeah, several of them had to do with communication, whether it was getting information to residents, it was the limited access to our internet providers. We only have two in our area. One is very, very poor, and the other has become very, very expensive. A lot of options up here. So we talked about that, website challenges. That also pertains to that. The one that was interesting was the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down, the technology generational divide. We had someone come in here, and it was very interesting. Just on this note, he wanted to get a permit to open up to sell used vehicles. Gist of the story is basically internet driven. Wasn't really, there might be a sign, whatever. But to some people from a different generation, it's like, you have to have that sign. How are people gonna know you're there? Some people, the generation gap with people who've been here for a while, older people, how they do things by mail, so they use snail mail, they look at signs, they do that, they'll go, younger people, it's all their phones, the internet, websites and all that. So it's like, there's quite a gap there, and it's like, it's not easy to say, well, we have to just make everybody be able to communicate with each other the same way. It's like trying to get the same message out to everybody without overextending ourselves or running up more expenses. So there is quite a generation gap here when it comes to technology. That was what that one was driven by. The downtown feel is obvious, and like Mr. said, up there on the northwest corner, all the way up, I mean, we have a lot of that is Baldwin, but everybody just the drive-through, the sixth one down, flyby through town, there are no signs.
I marked that one with a big arrow going, that would be one of my big comments.
I brought that up several times. I always just bring up about signs, because to me, it's like you can go in and out of Baldwin and you don't even know.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm in Zimmerman. It's like, oh, where's Baldwin? It's like, oh, we're in between Zimmerman. Oh, where's that? It's like, well, you know where 169 is? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, So they said they have no idea where Baldwin is. And it's like, no, that works. I know it's not the most important thing and we'll get it taken care of, but there are some when you see if we just happen to be not comparable to in the city, but the Eden Prairie sign. Now it just was lit and jumped out at night when you drove and just noticing different, I noticed them all, but we were just down there the other night.
too,
It's like some of them jump out and you're like, you want something that's just like, ooh, you're in Baldwin, here's a sign.
Or Elk River,
Yeah,
they have that deer by the dump.
yeah, the dump, yeah, that stands out. Something like that.
Elk, yeah.
So,
Yeah, sorry.
all right.
You are correct.
The Elk River deers.
Deer River, oh, wrong city.
It's got antlers.
Exactly. It's got amateur, at least you're close.
You can tell I'm not a hunter.
Well, and just on that end, on that point, as a township, Baldwin doesn't even get a sign out on 169 saying Baldwin population. Now, as a city, one should be posted and might be something to have.
As a matter of fact, we did that several years ago, posted or put Baldwin signs in along 169 with population.
Okay.
And they disappeared.
Disappeared, that's right.
So we put them up again. They disappeared again.
Those are garage sale signs.
Yeah, well, no, actually, then the state, we got a hold of the state and said, what's going on? And they said, you can pick them up at the MnDOT depot in St. Cloud because you can't have those there. Yep,
Were they
Because we
putting
were
a right of way or
council,
something?
because we were a township.
Yeah, they only post them for incorporated cities.
And I think also too, if you notice, there's a Princeton sign up here.
Yeah.
That's actually in Baldwin,
Baldwin, yes.
right? However, that sign is out of the road right away. So that's on private property. So I question whether we'd even be able to get that removed. You know what I mean? At this point in time.
Only if it violates sign ordinance.
On private, well, okay.
Yeah.
Go measure it and tell me what size we gotta be, right?
Right.
know.
How do we code comply?
But yes, now that we're a city, it has been discussed, not in depth, but it has been discussed. If there was, even more, of an interest in doing something like that, whatever, that would certainly be something we'd be.
Even the
Look at-
population signs versus, because it'd be nice to get something down the road, but it's like, get those up short term, and then that way when people at least recognize, it's like, oh, Baldwin, I've heard of that. Oh, we're in Baldwin, so it's just, there's other bigger, more pressing things, but at least
Yeah.
that sign with the population
Maps
would be nice.
don't
People do ask, well, how big is Baldwin?
The other interesting thing about this list is, this is the weaknesses of the city as it existed when the exercise was done. Communication to residents. The website's been revised, there's more information on it, there's the text.gov. The city code is being done to put it online and make it more accessible. So, the town board, or city council's already, kind of going through these. The one about the space needs down here, there's the infrastructure committee that's in place looking at future facility needs, so.
And up from the bottom, the seventh one up, poor cell phone service. We live right in the area, we're only a mile and a half straight southeast from Coburn's as a crow flies. We don't have our Wi-Fi on, our phones don't even ring. We're a minute and a half, 2 minutes from Coburn's. Have it on, literally, it's like, oh, wait, my mom, so I tried calling you, it's like, oh, yeah, it was down or what, something, but it's absolutely hilarious how we have no, thinking, we're T-Mobile, and they said, oh, you're so close, you're right off the edge of being able to get internet service, and it's like, please just give me cell phone service, I'd settle for that, I don't need internet service. And the other thing with that, though, is we did have, when AT&T had approved on property, surrounding the residents were concerned with towers. So we have poor cell phone service in some areas, but then bringing in towers, it's like, well, they can piggyback off of towers. Someone puts up a tower and someone else can put theirs on there. So you don't have to put up separate towers for every single carrier. But it is hard when you say, well, we're going to put up a tower because people aren't really have concerns. So it's a weakness, but then again, you have to also consider how they feel in there.
Chair Mattson, last year when we were doing the car show, was it Google Maps? Google Maps didn't even have us down in the right area. I'm serious, yeah. So I'm one of these that like, put up some signs, please,
Anything for you see on their weaknesses that you know that should be on there or added? Or any comments on anything that is on there?
I have,
Go ahead.
I have absolutely no idea how to word it. I do numbers, not words. It's my excuse. It kind of goes along with signage, that type of thing. I mean, I've been sitting here, I do know, and I wish I had taken a picture of it. I had watched the weather report at one point, and it had a map up, and it actually had Baldwin on
Yeah.
the statement. I'm like, we're on the map. It's not Princeton. I got so excited, and I didn't take a picture. But then, because I'm on the Little Elk Lake board,
Okay.
and we have started, and in case anybody wants it, we do have a store now that if you order, say, shirts, things along those lines, it helps support the quality of the lake. But I lost the argument. They put Zimmerman, Minnesota as the address because everybody's postal account says Zimmerman, Minnesota. I said, this lake is 99.9% in Baldwin, Minnesota. Well, the post office doesn't acknowledge that. I said, yes, it does. You can put Baldwin on your address and it will get to your house just fine. And I got vetoed. So I don't know how to word that up here, but how do we convey that to our, I would love to, people using it as a address, so it feels like our city.
The weakness is lack of awareness about using Baldwin as a mailing address, ability to use Baldwin as a mailing address.
Okay,
I know, I got phone
Keep
calls.
them around.
there we go. The wording, I said, I don't know how to word it, but
And that is a good one, because I have heard that on numerous occasions. You know, we've got, I've had many people say how nice it is to see Baldwin on that Channel 9 weather map.
Yep.
And you see that, and people can use it. So the post office, the feds, the post office, the postal service is what's driving the fact that we don't have our own zip code, right? So part of it is in Princeton, 55371, part of it's in Zimmerman, 55398. And that's the way it is. However, the post office has said that if you put Baldwin on your envelopes or as your address, it will get to you.
yes.
I don't know if we discussed it while you were out here or y'all know, but I had asked a couple years ago, will we ever get a post office here? When will that happen? And they'll never add more post offices. So it's just a matter of people using it. Just have to use it. So signs might help people identify Baldwin, that we actually exist. I put it on, when we get a check from here, I put it on Baldwin. So it's like to have money sent. The only thing that I don't do it on, and I will admit it, is stuff that has to do with travel, because I don't want to be overseas, have a passport that says something. If I have issues and I show a license and it says Baldwin or anything like that, or I have any paperwork, I'm still stuck with everything there, Princeton, but otherwise, every single thing, Wind River Estates, everything I send out is Baldwin, and I've asked to have all the addresses changed to Baldwin, so I'm trying to do it, but it's every once in a while, I'll just be return address, and I'll start with the P, but luckily I go, oh shoot, and I just go, extra little PR, the R just goes into an A, and then LD.
It's funny how hard it is for people to understand that zip code boundaries don't follow municipal boundaries.
Yes,
That
yes.
So, Mr. Chair, the divider, I believe, is Highway 9. Anything north of 9 is Princeton, anything south of 9 is Zimmerman. It does have to be driven by the post office. I brought this up 2 or 3 months ago. I think it's important for us to, start saying that we're Baldwin, but until I go on and order something on the web, so the post office has a database.
Yep.
And they have to change us in all the addresses in that database in order for it to properly affect. Because if you go online and you try to order something, you cannot use a Baldwin ad. For Princeton, some of them are addressed, but in Zimmerman, I haven't seen anything. Because if you look at this address, we learned this address is Baldwin, I believe. So, what if I type in my address, it comes up as Zimmerman. I live south of 9.
Mine comes up with Zimmerman too.
Well, at least we have one that says Baldwin. That's a start.
Making us-
That's a start, yeah.
Start, I like it, I like it.
So my
We just all
question is,
need to
what do
keep
we have
doing
to
it.
do?
and-
Yeah.
work with the post office to get the database changed. And is that something we do, or is that something that they do, or what are the steps to get that effective?
I think that would be a request by the council to the postal service to ensure that that happens.
Maybe the mayor could go meet with the postmaster.
We'll go postal, is that what you're telling me?
I meant meet with them.
Meet
Don't go
with them.
postal, just meet.
And it has to
And
come
make a
from the city.
request.
I mean, the city has to make the
Oh,
request
definitely.
Yeah.
of, hey, you know, we have residents in your area and we want them properly reflected. You know, what do we have to do to that database?
And I think that is a good question, what the total outcome would be. I'm not sure. The question has been asked before, and it's like, keep it the way it is, what's the problem? That has been an answer. You know, and it's kind of like, well, no, we are kind of our own entity now, especially as a city. So let's pursue that again.
Yeah, if you would, please.
Mr. Chair, you look at Ramsey. I mean, for years, Ramsey had Anoka's mailing address, 55303. I lived in Anoka for a long time, you know, before I moved up to, you know, this area. You know, but Ramsey wanted to have their own identity. They didn't get their own post office right away, but they started putting Ramsey with 55303. It took time, you know, for it to convert over, but for a long time, they always had to put, you lived in the city of Ramsey, you know, you had to put in Anoka's mailing. It's just the way it was.
It goes back to the databases though.
It did. But
If
it
you go
took,
to Amazon, you order something,
oh, yeah.
you're gonna type in Baldwin and they'll be like, do you mean Zimmerman?
Yep, or
Or it'll
do you
come
mean
undelivered.
Princeton? Yep.
Or it'll come undelivered because you didn't address it to the proper city or to what they think is the proper.
For example, Otsego, for example, has 5 zip codes. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
they do.
you know, it's put in the newsletter, basically, use Otsego, no matter your zip code. All the post offices will recognize it. So that
They
helps
won't,
them
they
to
won't get their own
build
post
the,
office either.
no, there's never gonna, they're gonna close them, not open them.
Correct, unfortunately.
Right.
Anything else on weaknesses? Okay, let's go on to opportunities. Mr.
So
Light.
the first two are obviously things that are going well and need to be strengthened or continued. The second ones are things to work on, which the city is doing and need to be kind of addressed as part of the comp plan. These are things that are outside of the city's control at this point that are opportunities to cause growth within the city. So Highway 169 is obviously traffic and visibility and access for future business growth. Eligibility for funding now as a city, especially for streets. The stability in lot sizes, basically the city can set its course on that and maintain it going forward through its independent zoning and planning power. The opportunity to create new parks, again, charting its own course going forward. There's the opportunity for growth in terms of land area that's available, market potential for all categories of land use. With technology nowadays, there's more ability to work for home that makes Baldwin more attractive for residential.
If we
Looking
get
at-
that internet going. Sorry.
COVID or international conflict, you know, people want to get out of the city, want to come to the country in the rural area, which has been a major change in the last 5 years or so. Access to more resources like the League of Minnesota Cities, also more resources in terms of economic development tools, the ability to establish an economic development authority, opportunity to expand the hospital and medical care system, continued opportunity, again, home-based businesses kind of tying into that, bringing people here to work rather than going places to work. The opportunity to expand on the amenities the outdoors provides for hunting, fishing, hiking, and bird watching. The roadways that still provide access to Twin Cities once all the improvements to 169 are done. That tech is going to advance at some point so Clarence can get internet in his house. The people want to move here because of the amenities that are in place, so it's a desirable place to be. And enhancements in text your gov. We could never figure out what the blank was on that because everyone wrote this out by hand and we couldn't figure out the handwriting. So price of gas makes Baldwin attractive. You can afford to drive here and commute to work. the community festivals that exist, and then the opportunity for arts and crafts shows. Anything else people can think of that would draw people to Baldwin?
There was one thing in the city paper, we brought it in 3 years ago, that said one of the areas that people were looking to move out to, there was 2. At that time, we were Baldwin Township, it said Princeton, Minnesota, because it was just an area that opportunity for Princeton area and the surrounding communities. So basically Baldwin, Princeton, Malacca. As the roads were changing and everything was happening, it's like this was hot. So that was why the opportunities here. There's a couple things with the 169, getting all the roads taken care of. It's like people can get up here. I can get from Eden Prairie from my daughter's place. I can get from there into my yard in about 54 minutes. Once I get on 494 on the southwest corner there, there's one light, and that's different. That's gone. It's like I might shave a minute off my drive, but it's so nice. So people working in the city, it's like if it's not rush hour affected, you can get to your job and you can get home, and it's not that bad of a drive anymore. So there are a lot of opportunities here.
After Zimmerman's done, the only light will be Garrison.
Yes. So nice. At 2.5 acres, the stability, the third one down, the stability in lot sizes. 2.5 acres was, top was, you know, people up here, developers coming up, developers in cities have a lot different idea of what developments, it's like, you can give me acres, and if I put these houses in these, I can put this many houses in there, and it's like, holy, you can't have that, you can't have 75 houses in 80 acres.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like this 2.5 acres was something that everybody on. A lot of people were, not a lot of people, concerns were brought up when we were going to incorporate. People like, what's going to happen? Is this going to turn into, you know, a city is a metropolis? Should people went overboard? But people were, you know, concerned with that. So that's one thing we've always wanted to keep was the rural. That's why also with the first thing we talked about with the shipping containers. People do use them, big lots, you know, bigger lots responsible, but people like to come out here and they like to have their place, and they're coming out, moving out to the country. It's like, well, if you're bringing in shipping containers, have an effect on this. So there was a lot of people that were concerned, and they just love the rural. But we all have the home-based business. We have things here, all the fishing and hiking and all that. So we had a wide variety of people that were on. And so far, we've had a lot of differing opinions, which is really nice. I'm going to quit rambling on, but any other comments?
Yep, Mr. Chair, one way we can take care of the weakness of not having a signage, you know, Baldwin, you know, big signs, we could turn an opportunity, like when you come into some rural communities around the state, you see their big city of Baldwin with a tagline in it, you know, rural values, blah, 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 you know, whatever. You could have one on each side. You know, 169 as you're coming into Baldwin. I think that'd be a good opportunity for the mayor and the council to start looking ahead at, you know, big community sign with, you know, a tagline that's going to be remembered for Baldwin from forever.
The city of Baldwin. You could use it as your address.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the people in the ditch reading that long.
Little shorter tagline.
That's good. If we're a tow, call 100.
But I think, you know, to get that community feel, you've got to have something like that. I
They
mean,
aren't cheap.
they're not cheap, but it's something that's there forever.
You're right. Although Blaine just redid some, and the price, I saw the price tag on them. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
what? It's crazy.
Yep.
So if anyone sees any now, or you see any before our next meeting as well, or anytime at all, any opportunities that are on here, please bring them up, because it's something that is very at this point. I know we're getting a little late, it's 8:30 already, so let's go on to threats.
Yep. We'll just cover this one really quickly. So these are the things that could hurt growth in Baldwin going forward. Concerns about groundwater was an issue that the Planning Commission had brought up quite a bit in the past. We did have the city engineer come to a planning commission meeting to talk about groundwater issues for Baldwin, given the fact that it's primarily private wells that are being utilized. The conclusion from the engineer is it's really not a threat for this type of development. There's always the threat, perhaps, that the existing government is turned over either through attrition or change in leadership through the elections. They then in turn, appoint new planning commissioners, fire the planner, and start from scratch,
Sorry, I can't help it. I
Yeah.
just had to giggle about it. I'm sorry.
And they could have a completely different vision for what Baldwin should be going forward, which would potentially include a threat to the rural atmosphere. The threat is, of course, the market potential for development as the Twin Cities continues to grow, that pressure. As the chair kind of mentioned, talking about the Princeton area as a region of growth, when we did the incorporation analysis, one of the city's main points was that if you looked at the growth in Baldwin and the growth in Princeton, Baldwin has grown much faster than Princeton did, suggesting that people are moving here for this environment, not that environment. So the other point that we made was that map of all those 10-acre lots. Baldwin's already subdivided beyond the ability to ever put sewer and water utilities in.
Correct.
There's no contiguous area large enough that you could ever feasibly do that. So this is what it's going to be going forward. With growth comes potential increases in crime, traffic. High-density housing was viewed as a threat to the rural character of the community. Obviously, trying to access higher levels of government for assistance or support is always a challenge for cities. Lack of jobs and local revenue coming to the area that helps broaden the tax base. Inflation can slow growth or harm economic development. City grows too fast beyond its means, that can compromise both rural character and the city's financial position. Land management, basically again, allowing development not consistent with the desired character of the community. Continued demographic changes as populations shift in age groups and income. Land affordability was something that the Planning Commission brought up, particularly with regards to the lake areas, where the seasonal cabins are being torn down for year-round homes that maximize every buildable inch of the property and raise the value of those beyond their current levels. Misuse of tech to harm the city's operation. Again, Clarence can't get internet, so you know who commented on that one. That surge in population from something like international conflict or COVID is also a threat, just because of the pressure that growth causes. Economic factors, high interest rates, same thing. Shared septic systems have proven to be problematic and thus are not allowed any longer. And then the miscommunication of the city's objectives, I think, that was highlighted really by the incorporation process, where the town board was pretty clear why they were doing it, but the perception was, well, we're gonna become a city and suddenly apartments are going up and growth is gonna happen and our tax rate's gonna go up, when the intent was 180 degrees from that, so.
Any comments? Opportunities, we had the 1/3 from the bottom, price of gas. The gas is lower out here, just in the city, 40 cents more 2 nights ago here. But then also the threat, the fourth one up, the cost of homes, gas, land, et cetera, factors. If a person is driving, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, gas does go up. All of a sudden it's like, wow, I'm spending $80 a month more to get to my job. So it does affect people. So there are economic factors that are threats when you live this far from the city. Quite a commute. As well as the cost of homes, it's like they're already going up. So much more than in our development too, that's sold for that. Wow. So the economic factors that are threats that a person doesn't have control of individually, planning and zoning. So crime increase, that was a big one that people talked about. That, well, you have more people here, roads, more traffic, crime could increase. What do we have here when we don't have our own police department? when we see how long it'll take them to get to our house, stuff like that. So there was a lot of discussion as far as all that. That's why those are higher on the list, more people. Comments? Questions or anything?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
The groundwater table in the very top one, that was a question directly that was asked, is like, how many homes will it take to be, quote, oversaturated? What population density in homes now would it take to be oversaturated and affect the groundwater? And the thought, that answer by the engineer is, well, and like Mr. Licht said, we're started out with 10 acres and 20 acres and 2.5 acres and these kind of things. There's really not going to be a threat. If everything eventually develops according to how it is doing today, you know what I mean, we're never going to get there. Another part of that happened too was, and we talked here about the shared septic systems and those. That was a big concern, whatever, and that was used against us if we don't have city sewer. Not water, but sewer, whatever, We're never gonna make it. We're gonna threaten our evil neighbor to the north here, whatever, and destroy all of their infrastructure and everything that's taken care of, right? Well, obviously, we proved that to not be true. And one of the things in that was, okay, all of us here, you know, we take water out of the ground and consume it, use it, do our things with it, whatever, and within 150 feet, put it right back into the ground. So really, we're replenishing our own water source as we're using it, if you will. Bear with me on this. But at any rate, when you take to what like Princeton is doing, they're taking 800,000 gallons a day out of the groundwater, and they're putting it in the river and ultimately sending it to the Mississippi and down to the Gulf of Mexico. So the question became, who's doing what to whose water source? You know what I mean? Because they're actually depleting it faster than we are. But at any rate, so that was that. Turnover of local government and elected uniform leaders and things like that, you know, that came about because at that point in time, at the 17 years I've been on this, there was many times for the board position I ran unopposed, right? You know, and some others did as well, whatever, overall all those years. Well, as soon as you put a mayor title on it and city council type title on it, suddenly there was 13 people running for the 5 positions. Right, and so the question is, you know, we know what we thought we wanted, you know what I mean? We know and we're planning here now for what we think we want in the future. Question becomes is, what are the new folks? That's questions you just have to ask them. You know what I mean? Elections have consequences, so literally, you know what I mean? Careful who you vote for. Rural atmosphere, we talked a little bit about that. Crime increase, traffic study, increase in traffic here, if you will. That is kind of a threat, but the roads that we have and for the population that we're ultimately going to see, other than going to MSA standards on some of the roads and collector streets and things like that and actually getting that up to speed, you know, we're doing pretty good. I'm going to run through a couple of these, whatnot. Keeping land affordable. You know what I mean? I mean, society is going to decide what's affordable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you look at what's happened in 2024, there was 47 homes that were built, and the average build was 430,000. I mean, is that affordable? You know what I mean? Is that a starter home? You know, definitely not. The one thing that's happening too is if you think about years and years and years ago, a starter home, Brooklyn Park, some of those places, whatnot, is like 900 square feet, 1,000 square feet.
Yep.
We are not building those homes anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, and whether it's the developer, the consumer, it doesn't matter who, whatever, but those size of starter homes are not being, you know, built anymore. So, which also leads, when we think about housing and things like that, a threat, maybe a weakness, maybe an opportunity, depending on how you're looking at it. We really don't have room for, quote, affordable housing. Right? You know what I mean? There's just, there's not enough density, if you will, because we don't have sewer and water and won't to cover some of that, you know, apartment buildings and those kind of complexes. Some of those things could be maybe had, I suppose, if that was the case, whatever, but it wouldn't necessarily be affordable. And so that could be a strength, that could be a weakness, that could be an opportunity, and it could be a threat, right? And when we look at The cost of homes, gas, and land, again, here, like I say, you know, $430,000 in 2024. I don't know what the 2025 numbers are yet, but I will at some point in time. Anyway, that, and shared septic systems, these were put on here. We have 5 shared septic systems in Baldwin. Baldwin Meadows, Baldwin Cove, Nordwall Estates, and then Frontier Trails. Right, so that was 4 or 5, anyway, I think there's one other one, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Shared septic systems literally are one of the worst things that ever happened to this state, this area, this kind of thing. If we take something like Frontier Trails here, 41 homes, the MPCA said, well, 8,800 gallons a day is what they were using, 10,000 gallons a day was what the minimum that MPCA said that the system could be built for, because they wanted to be able to monitor it and do all of these things. Well, you add all the complexity of those 2,200 gallons, or not even 2,200 gallons, whatever, to that, and a system the MPCA says 41 homes has to have is not affordable by 41 homes. Right now, they're looking at paying $200 a month in a utility bill to Baldwin for their septic system. Each home, each house, every month, $200, right? And that kind of thing. So, the shared septic systems, this happened with the cluster development. We can go in a long depth of how I believe that happened, but whatever, anyway, there it is. So, Sherburne County pushed them. Sherburne County was the one that was doing the zoning at the time that allowed these to happen. Now you take a smaller one like Baldwin Meadows, you know what I mean? That is not this 10,000 gallon a day minimum with the MPCA permitted and those kind of things, whatever, That one is working. That one is working, I gotta say, only because somehow they're keeping their HOA together. You know what I mean? Because that's what happened, that's what they threw them at, was the homeowners associations to manage these things, and it didn't work. As soon as some homes sold, whatever, the new people came in and said, screw that, I pay enough in taxes, I'm not paying HOA dues as well, right? Now the HOAs are going after these people with legal fees and blah, blah, anyway, so we circle right into a disaster. Nordwall, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, miscommunication was huge. When we had the incorporation trial, you know, it was a Thursday, Friday hearing, if you will, here. And then Thursday night was actually the public information part of that. A week prior to a week prior to the trial date was discovery. Everybody traded information with each other, whatnot, and we sent them our stacks of information, Princeton, whatnot, and they well, this is probably more pages than what Princeton came at us with. We were blown away. Anyway, that being said, what it did say in there was, because they kept saying over and over and over again, this was going on social media, if everybody was watching the Princeton, all these kind of things, the communication was happening, that we were out to get them. This was a bad deal, and look out, Baldwin people, your board is ready to crucify you, right? Anyway, and as that happened, the one thing, they swore up and down on their social media pages that they were not going to ask to annex anything of Baldwin. Yet, when the discovery happens, whatnot, nope, they wanted the top 9,700 acres. That is from here north that they wanted to have in their coffers, right? So, what we did is we spent $4,500 on a mailing to every Baldwin resident, whatever, every address of Baldwin. Say, come here on Thursday, and we got 1,000 people. So out of the 7,500 people that were here, we got 1,000 people, and a whole lot of them came with pitchforks. You know what I mean? And by the time we were done with that, the outcome was, we really don't want to see a whole lot of change to Baldwin, but if incorporation will help us, you know, guard the doors, if you will, that's what we're for, and here we go forward. So they put their pitchforks back. That also got us into the Techstar.gov, and that as another means of communication. And that's working. People are liking that. When we had the school referendum and the vote on the school referendum, Baldwin put out on Techstar.gov about all that. I had discussions with the school superintendent about having a meeting here that fell through, but then it came through, but there was 1 week, 3 days prior to the election, as far as weekdays go, you know what I mean? And I asked the people there, what was the best form of communication you got? And they said texting. mean, so this is huge. Get the word out that we have this, people, you know, they look, got your phone, every one of us has got one of these. You know what I mean? So anyway, communication, we're doing the best we can. We have a newsletter. We sent out the newsletter. We used to mail that all the time, whatever, but the $5,000 in mailing every quarter didn't really seem, and printing and whatever, it didn't seem to be worth it. We tried to email, right? And so we're still emailing it. We also have, along with the Text.gov, we have an email list, whatever. If you want to be on that, get on that. You know, be informed right away. Communication too, if you want to watch any of our council meetings, whatever, they're on YouTube. Go and you can take a look at them. So anyway, some of the things we've done, some of the things we've tried to do, and it's a work in progress.
Any comment from the four of you? Otherwise,
Yep, so rather than go into great detail, in the document, there's the opportunities and issues, chapter 4. This is the section that would have scared Commissioner Marshall to death because it's my summary of the SWOT analysis. So for the meeting on the 28th, if you all want to read this and see if you, yeah, just this section, and you should read the next section as well, but see if you agree that this is an accurate summary of the SWOT analysis. If there are things you want to add to it, we can certainly do that or take things away. So again, this is the part that's meant to reflect the opinions of the planning commission.
thank you very, very much.
What page is that, sir?
Starts on 30.
Okay, that's what I have here.
And real quick, Kayla wanted me to ask all of you to please hang on to this, because as we make changes, she'll just print out the page or pages rather than having to always print out the whole thing new. So for everybody to keep track, I did say I was going to bind her. She also said if you want a binder, that she can possibly provide them, 3-ring binder, whatever, but however you want to do it, just please keep hold of them. Okay, let's go on to G of our tonight's agenda. G is the that's what we just did. H, the city council liaison update. And that would be our mayor.
Oh, gosh. All right, I'll keep it brief. Found out today, good news, good information. Our ISO rating on our fire department as of February will be a 6. So that's really, really good for a rural paid on-call fire department, if you will. And so, and if you, Bruce, check me if I'm wrong, but even with fire hydrants, you'd be lucky to get to a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 4.3, you know, for hydranted areas, it's obviously a, 6, and that's great. They have to prove a lot when it comes to water hauling, because it's all tankers. They have to prove a lot. It's within 5 miles of a fire station, of the station, which is what everybody is, but it affects it really doesn't affect your residential insurance when it goes down, maybe a point or so, until you get down to a 2 or a 1, which is your, class 1 cities. But it does every point down, and it's from a 10 to a 1 is what it is. Your commercial industrial, it affects every point down, would save them money on their insurance.
Really? Okay.
Yep, but if you're over 5 miles, that's away from a fire station, that's when your residential insurance would go crazy, let's say. So being a 6 is great for a paid-on-call, fire department, so.
And if you do, some homeowners insurance companies abide by that and hold a lot of merit, some don't care.
Right. Some use hazard, some of them.
Make sure you check and let everybody you know, you know what I mean, because there could be a reduction in the.
Some use that.
ISO rating.
ISO, yep. Some use what's called a hazard zone now, some of the insurance companies. But it's a public, fire classification. It's the ISO rating, so that's great news that it's down to a 6.
And then at the last meeting, I was not at the last meeting because I was under the weather, but they approved the budget, and that is to ratify the budget. It'll come out posted in the newspaper, printed in the paper, and that is the last final bit of it, is a little over 8% increase. And then there is also, we got the notification that the school is looking to do another referendum in May. So they're coming back, right? You know what I mean? It didn't work last time, whatever, so they're trying to bring this up now, so just let everybody know that it's coming, whether you're for it or against it, it doesn't really matter. I don't know any of the particulars yet of whether, I know the school board, the school district itself will handle the elections, whatever, so there won't be any cost to the Baldwin taxpayers, if you will. But in the case of last election, there were strange things like, I keep wanting to say OROC, it's not OROC, it's, I'll use OROC for now, but.
Blue Hill.
Blue Hill for sure, and then north and west of them, all the way out to Glendorado. There it is, Glendorado residents had to come to Baldwin to vote. And so that's how they did it. They were trying to save money and have fewer places to go, whatever. But you know what I mean? I tried to tell them, no, spread it out and let your voters vote where they normally vote. You know what I mean? If you're looking for, a good canvassing, because I question whether Baldwin people would go to Glendorado to vote. You know what I mean?
wouldn't.
If that was the case. Anyway, right? So we'll see that, we'll play that by ear, and that's about all I got.
This is May.
May. That would be the next time. So, it used to be, well, there's only several months out of the year that they allow elections. You might need to help me with this, Dan, but it's November, I think it's February, March, obviously, because the township was always in March. And then it's like April or May, so it must be May since they're talking about May. You know what I mean? And that was so that they couldn't have a referendum in November that didn't pass and then come right back in December and try and shoehorn it again through right away, right? So there's notifications that have had, we got the communique from the county that it's not set in stone that it's gonna happen yet, but that's what they're looking to try and do. Antenna up.
Or you get a call.
You'll get a call, Ed, guaranteed.
Thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Okay, on to Commissioner update. Let's just go around the horn. Start with you, Commissioner Barnes. Do you have anything?
Not at this time. I think I'm ready to start the new year. I like it.
Oh, good. Commissioner Larson. West?
Happy to be here, but nothing else. Thank you.
Okay.
We have a meeting on the fourth Wednesday,
Correct, yep.
and did I hear you say that there was nothing, no
planning applications.
applications in front of us?
Right.
No public hearings or anything.
Cool.
Okay, as far as myself, Kayla, I did not mention it, but you knew it, but on the roll call, Commissioner Abby Newland is not here, but she let us
Excused.
know. Really, all I have to say is it's just great to have all of you here and that you all out the year. 'Cause I told my wife tonight, I said, I'm leaving at 6:30. I want to get here. So it's fun.
I'm so excited you forgot your coat.
Very true, very true.
Are you serious? With how cold it is outside?
I got to start my car before we go.
Oh, yeah. It is. Oh, my
While you're
goodness
talking,
gracious.
I'm gonna start it. So, but other than that, noted on the 57 pages.
For next,
Covered so everybody keep that.
of our reading done,
Reading done, yeah.
our homework assignment.
We will discuss, that's the
Started
extent of my update.
That's okay, but we'll still go to you officially. Okay, Jay, city staff update, Mr. Lick.
So at the next meeting, we have no planning items, start your car. We'll bring back the 2 zoning item, or the shipping container item, hopefully, and then continue discussion about the comprehensive plan. It's nice to have the spring to get this done and in place. We're under a bit of a deadline with a moratorium expiring in early April. So we need to have the update completed by council meeting's first meeting in May. If we got any applications after the moratorium expired and the comp plan was adopted, we could extend them to after the comp plan's adopted so that we can still use the new rules. So
Mr. Chair, ultimately, Dan, when would you like to see it go to the council?
April would be ideal.
The April's council meeting?
Yeah, I'm kind of figuring we've got, the next meeting to finish this part of it, give you the actual development framework with the maps and everything. We can look at those in February. We can do some kind of public open house meeting of some type early March, finalize the document for a formal public hearing at the March meeting, send it to the council.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the optimistic scenario, so.
Kayla, could you send an email to Commissioner Newland? Abby's not coming back until right before our next meeting, but could you send her it, once again, asking her to read, or start on page 30, read that, so when she comes here, I know she might not have time, I don't believe she came here much earlier than a couple days before. Have I don't remember what the date was, but I don't want her to just show up with having no idea that, not that she shouldn't have time to read it, but at least if we can give her.
Back.
Oh, that would be perfect.
She was planning.
That's
for the
right.
Third and fourth.
Yep.
So she might be
Come
back
right
next
back.
week, but I'll send her some.
And then, Mr. Chair,
Yes. I'm sorry.
the chair had sent an email asking just to talk about, what the planning commission has to look forward to in terms of work. Obviously, the regular meeting will depend on the applications that come in. But once we get this comprehensive plan done, the intent has always been to go through the zoning ordinance in detail to look at what Sherburne County regulations really aren't applicable or not desirable for Baldwin. When the town took over planning and zoning, we had to basically adopt what Sherburne County had. So we literally took their ordinance and kind of reformatted it to say Baldwin and put all the administrative processes in place. And we made a couple quick emergency changes to fix things that were causing immediate problems for property owners that want the town board and city council wanted fixed after incorporation. But there's probably quite a bit to do in terms of further review of that. Plus, there's going to be things that come out of the comprehensive plan that we have to address through the zoning to really put it in place, so.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Luck. So this evening, we discussed the containers. We're going to carry that forward to next meeting. We also discussed driveways. Was that just more informational? Or is there do we have to make any suggestions or referrals to the city council?
No, it was for discussion, basically endorsing the process that we're putting in place now. So this is basically an administration of the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance. We don't need to adopt any additional regulations pertaining to that. It's documents the city attorney and I have prepared that we just need to put in practice.
It was just informational for us at this point.
Right. Yep.
Thank you.
It was basically a double check to make sure that with all the new members, that there's still consensus this was the right way to go.
Very much, sir. Okay, K, miscellaneous information and communications, the 4 notes at the bottom. As we discussed, Mr. Stoffern brought up, 2 weeks from today is our next meeting, the 28th, so getting used to doing the 2nd and the 4th. So we are back 2 weeks from today for our next meeting. That brings us to L, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
We have a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're 8:58, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.